One of the strangest features of life is how many of us can walk around looking perfectly fine on the outside, while inside, there's a silent emptiness. No obvious signs of crisis, no big drama, and yet, beneath the surface, there's no real sense of self. These people, and maybe at times even ourselves, live in a constant state of uncertainty. Who am I? What do I truly want? Who can I trust? Instead of asking, what do I like? The question becomes, what am I supposed to like? Instead of, what do I approve of? It turns into, what's respectable to approve of? Even laughter can feel rehearsed. When is it appropriate to laugh, and at what? If you observe closely, you'll notice the restlessness. Today it's this artist, tomorrow it's another. One month, it's a strong political conviction. The next month, it's abandoned for the opposite view. These shifts aren't the sign of an open mind. They're the cry of someone asking the world, over and over again, who should I be? What's the right thing to think?
And often this story begins far earlier than adulthood. Picture a child growing up in a home where their uniqueness isn't noticed, not because they aren't unique, but because their parents are too wrapped up in their own struggles, too fragile to step outside themselves. No one kneels down and says, who is this brand new human being I brought into the world? What do they love? What annoys them? What hidden spark are they carrying?
Instead, the child grows up with their voice drowned out. Every opinion is interrupted with, don't be ridiculous. Every instinct is corrected by an adult who insists, this is the right way, my way. And so the child learns to bend, to comply, to erase parts of themselves in order to belong. We often call them selfless children. But in truth, they were children forced to cope with a parent who already had a script written for their lives. These are the books you should admire. This is the sport you must win. This is the career you must chase if you want to be good enough. And the tragedy is, when that script gets forced on us too early, we never really learn how to write our own. The heartbreaking part is that none of this ever took into account what it felt like to be that small child, biologically wired to adore their parents, desperate to be seen, to be cherished. Instead, the lesson they learned was simple and devastating. Survival depends on compliance. To exist, you must sacrifice your real identity. Now, here's the paradox. Many of these selfless children grow up to be incredibly charming adults. They're polite, attentive, often magnetic. They've spent years perfecting the art of reading others, discovering what you like, and reflecting it right back at you. And they don't just pretend for a moment. It's real for them. They genuinely lose themselves in your world, in your perspective. At first, that can feel magical. Imagine falling in love with someone like this. They seem endlessly fascinated by your tastes, your favorite books, your go-to restaurants, the places you dream about visiting. You feel special, almost luminous in their eyes. And for a while, it feels like you've found the perfect partner. But here's the danger. No one can erase themselves without building up a hidden storm. The rage and dissatisfaction don't vanish. They just go underground. And because they never learned how to voice their needs cleanly, what comes out is often messy, sudden, and shocking. You don't get a gentle conversation about what's wrong. You get slammed with the fallout once it's already unbearable. The shift can be brutal. One day, they're hanging on your every word. The next, they've started a new job, joined a new circle of friends, and suddenly, you're not special anymore. You're an inconvenience. Their admiration doesn't fade into quiet distance. It curdles into disdain. You may hear them say things like, "You don't really know me," or "You expect me to be perfect." And while the words sound like accusations, what they're really saying beneath it is, "I don't know who I am. I surrendered control to you, and now I feel trapped." Even more profoundly, they may confuse love with control. Because in their childhood, the very parent who was supposed to love them instead insisted on shaping them. So as adults, they struggle to separate genuine affection from domination. And so, we can end up discarded, dropped like a stone by someone who once adored us. The irony is painful. We may have been exactly right for them, but they couldn't trust their instincts long enough to know it. So, what's the best we can do for someone who's been denied a self? It isn't to hand them another script or to try to mold them into our idea of who they should be. That would only repeat the very wound that shaped them in the first place. Instead, the most powerful gift we can offer is the opposite, to signal that we aren't here to control, to dictate, or to demand echoes of our own opinions. We're here to be curious, to give them the rare space to unfold. Think about how unusual this really is. Most of us spend our lives surrounded by people eager to persuade us, to win us over, to make us think like them. But what if for once we simply said, I want to know who you are, not who you think I want you to be, not the version of you that earned survival in childhood, just you, the real one that's been waiting all this time. It can feel eerie, almost unsettling, for someone who's never had that experience. Imagine being in your 30s, 40s, or even 60s, and realizing no one has ever been deeply curious about your true preferences, your actual dislikes, your unpolished opinions, your odd but genuine joys. That kind of patient curiosity is not only rare, it's transformative. Because when someone finally dares to listen without judgment, it gives us permission to listen to ourselves, and perhaps, for the very first time, to meet the person we were always meant to become. At the end of the day, all of us are on a journey of becoming. Some of us had the space to grow into ourselves early on, while others are only now, much later in life, beginning that process. And that's okay. What matters is that it's never too late to start asking the deeper questions. What do I truly want? What feels authentic to me? Who am I when I'm not trying to please or impress anyone else? If you've ever felt lost in the expectations of others, I want you to know this. There's a way back to yourself. It begins with patience, with curiosity, and with the courage to step away from borrowed identities. And if you've been lucky enough to find your voice already, then perhaps your role is to hold space for someone else, to give them the gift of being seen without judgment. That's what this channel, The Life Direction, is here for. Together, we explore the questions that help us move closer to our true selves, to relationships that nourish us, and to a life lived with clarity and meaning. So, if this message resonated with you, I'd love for you to join this community. Subscribe to The Life Direction, share this video with someone who might need it, and let's keep walking this path of self-discovery together. Because life is too precious to live as someone else's echo. It's time to live as yourself.